Hello everybody, welcome back to the continuation of the painting called Spring or the Flower Picker. Has two names, by Waterhouse. This is the one that I've been working on. It's still work in progress, but I wanted you to see. I didn't demo on this because although I wanted to, the face was too small, and I decided that I probably wouldn't. You probably wouldn't see very very good. So I've got enlarged it, and now I'm going to show you. I think you'll be able to see a little better what I did or what I'm doing. Okay, so the colors I mixed for the face are cadmium red, yellow ochre, and white. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to have to lift this. So here we are. And just now I'm going to make kind of like a dark area, then the middle area, and then continue it with some more white over here, so that then I'm going to give it a little misting, a little bit of water, just a little bit of mist, so that I can keep it open longer. Okay, so that's what you want to do, something in that order anyhow. If you notice, I have my primary colors, have my raw umber, white, and I do have a burnt sienna for this painting. All right, so now we are going to, I'm going to show you what I did. I put a little bit, not very much, but just some moisture on the face and the hair, since that is what we're going to be working on. Now all this, don't pay that much attention because that still has to be dealt with. Okay, so that should be enough. You do not want to overdo it with the water, because then it will break up the molecules of your pigments, and you'll dilute your acrylics, and it's not a good thing. All right, so one of the things that you want to know, you want to pay attention, is I went ahead and darkened the hair. Even though we're going to work on the face, I went ahead and put quite a bit of raw umber with burnt sienna on the hair, because it depends so much what values and color surround the area that you're going to be painting. It will make a difference on how you read those colors. So that is why I always feel better when I have that done. All right, so now one thing you want to do is burnt sienna is a beautiful kind of rusty color, and it's transparent. So what I did, I came here and I added some of that to the nose in this area, and also to the space where the hair is and the face. I kept it quite subtle so that there's no hard edges, so that we talked about the helmet look. We don't want that. Okay, so now I'm coming in here and adding a little bit of a little bit of hair. It's almost some flighty hairs right here. And I'm doing that with my raw umber, and the brush already had some burnt sienna in it, so it's not super dark raw umber, but it's just a little softness in there. Now the ear is right here, and to bring out the ear, we're going to come back here with some raw umber. And this is the scary part for some people, because they don't want to give her, like, we don't want to make her too, like she's got a dirty neck or dirty, but it's cast shadow, see? And at the same time, see how that ear just popped out, just that little bit. And we continue to add some more, another thin layer of shadows on that, underneath that chin right here. And that is actually going to delineate the jawbone here, the jaw area, a little sharper. She's got. All right, so now we're going to come back, and you always want to look at your negative space. See, she's got a very nice elongated neck right here. So we want to do that. We want to add a little darker and kind of with some red in it, the burnt sienna, so that she has what I call the mahogany hair, where it's not pitch black, it's not brown, but it's kind of a beautiful rich red. And then as soon as you get out where you're not supposed to, just come right back and clean it up like I just did right there. It's easy and fast. So I always, now it's just to have a nice chiseled edge brush, so that when that happens you can quickly fix it. So okay, so now I am going to come in here with some very, very light pink, almost white, because she's got a highlight right here, a tiny, tiny highlight right there. And also, even if it's small space or area, you still want to figure out where your lightest lights are and your mediums and your darkest. So the lightest light in her face is that edge right there on her, the edge of her nose, the bridge of her nose right there. So, and we continue with that little flicker of highlight in the chin. And remember, this is like a highlight here in the shape, if you of a triangle. So now we have color underneath already. So this is a lot more receptive to if you were just starting off with a white canvas. So that's why it's so nice to paint when you already have somewhat of an underpainting. All right, so let's come here, add a little lighter, because right here under that shadow is almost like a shadow is her. A little more highlight there. Okay. And then you soften the edges so that it just sort of blends in optically with the rest of the colors. All right, so no harsh, just like you're tickling slightly. All right, so now with that little liner brush, I noticed that what Waterhouse did, it's like very subtly with it, he's got an outline on her profile. So look at how tiny this brush is, the tip of it. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's really small, thin. And so, and I use my finger to pivot so that you're more steady. You need all the help you can get when you're doing this. So now that with the same liner brush, some people call it's a rigger or a script brush, any of those will work. You can come back here and do her. It's like an eyelash or something. So I still have the burnt sienna in my brush, but now I added a little bit of raw umber to it. And I went overboard a little bit, so I'm going to clean that up. And I think that's going to be fine because I kind of want to darken it. But then I'm thinking, you know what? It's going to get darker, right? Because it's acrylic. So before I make any adjustments to that, I'll just be a little patient and wait. Now, she's looking down, so she's got her eyelid. It's very pronounced right there because she's looking down. And so I did add some flesh tone, very light flesh tone. It's almost white because it is a highlight. And so even on a little area like that, that's what you want to do. You want to make sure you have the right highlight in there. Okay, and so now I do want to extend this a little further back. That just seems to be more open, not too tight in there. Okay, so now I'm going to soften that edge, let that dry. And I'm let's come back to the ear now. The ear has a little bit of like a reddish. It's the same thing when it's thin, like areas like the nose, the eyes, the earlobes, not the earlobe, but up higher. It's, you can, the skin is thinner, so you can see the blood through the skin almost, the transparency of it, especially on outdoors in the sun. And so while we're at it, let's give her a little bit. She's wearing lipstick or something, so she's got a tiny little bit of red in there. And look at how beautiful, that tiny bit of red right next to the green grass, the chartreuse grass. It's just a tiny bit of color, and it makes such a big difference. All right, so I'm going to spritz my paints a little bit. And I'm going to come back here and I'm going to add a little more color in this area. Now the edge, I'm going to keep that very soft. And I'm going to come in here with my other brush and soften that edge. I'm going to soften that edge like this. And then continue. All the way to where that dark shadow is. It's giving me that beautiful shape of the chin. Now it's going to be a different look because it's not a watercolor. It's got the original. The original was done in watercolors, but this will look also will work in oils perfectly, beautifully. But anything really, acrylics, oils. Okay, now her nose is really getting like maybe too much, a little bit flushed. Okay, so we come back, but we still keep some of that reddish in her nose, this area here. And then you do the blending the edges before it dries. And a little bit, so it's almost what was like the kiss of a butterfly. Very gently. But you know, with acrylics, you always have that security blanket. You can come back and tweak it. Keep tweaking until you love it. Sometimes you want to leave it alone for a while and then work on something else and then come back with renewed interest. That is very helpful. Okay, so that's another layer. Now the underneath, now this area that we had darkened all of a sudden looks a lot lighter. So I'm just touching it with a tiny bit of water like this, and I'm going to come in here with raw umber. You know, raw umber is a transparent I'm going to wait to let that dry a little bit. But now I am going to do some of that hair right here. It's darker. She's got her hair parted in the middle. Okay, so you want to show a little darker edge right here, and it's kind of just disappears on this side. You don't have to part it over there. Now we can, at the same time, let's see, we can start working a little bit on this ear, and we want to come back and do a little more behind the ears to bring that out more. I think I'm going overboard. It's too much, too big of the ear. And so It's beautiful. I can see the granulation of the watercolor in that face. It's beautiful. You see it, but somehow it really works. Almost like pointillism. It kind of melts into the skin here. Okay, let me give her a little highlight right in here. Okay. All right, we'll come back to that also. So now we're going to work a little bit in this area. There is, while the face is drying, if you notice, the color right here, there's a little bit of a blue shadow in here, remember, and that's going to help to soften that dress over in here. I think we carried it too far, so I'm adding a little more of the blue because I want to soften all of this. This is such a sharp edge. It's okay, but it's almost like she's got, this color is not that white. It's not that wide. Okay, so we're going to make it a little bit narrower. Now as we go up in here, it goes, I'm not sure if you can see it. Yeah, you can't see it. Okay. And then this is a little closer to her. It's a little to the collar line right there. Okay. Now the end of the shape of her cuff is right here, or her blousey sleeve is more of a up and down. It goes like this. I mean, you can't see it, but let's see if I push this. See that? Okay, there I'm looking at the. So now, as you go, you can start seeing different things like this, shapes, angles, and start tweaking it. It's going to be white, but we're making it blue right now because we are going to want to have that white with the blue shadows that reflects the white that's reflecting all the colors around it. That's usually how it is. So now I can come back and fix this. See? So it's almost you're like sketching with your brush. Okay, so now I think that the hair, I'm going to come back in here, and I am going to look at the negative space, which is the space around my subject. In this case, my subject is the sleeve, and I am trying to bring that out so that it's not so prominent way over here like I had it. But now it's like you start looking at your proportions, and there we go. Now you can start painting thicker at this point, and it adds to the look of a garment, fluffy garment, nicely starched probably. And now see that blue that we put in there, it's going to help us give it that softness on the edges. And with the same brush, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to soften this harsh line right there. It's just so hard. And I'm going to add a little bit of the yellow ochre to that area to soften that area. And yellow ochre with its marvelous coverage, not all the colors cover. So now that I did that, I can come back here with my transparent raw umber and go in there, and now I'm softening that area of white. Okay, now this collar becomes smaller. Also, it's quite narrow. It was too big when it was white, but it's a good thing because it takes very little to come in here and take some of that out. That color is so, the cast shadows here are just about, you can't tell, it's so dark that you can't tell that where the neck ends and the see, like this. So we're looking at shapes. So now we're making that color, that white is so much smaller and daintier than how we had it, but